that it takes a whole lot of activities for that child to internalize that CH. Suddenly it has a taste, that K, that C has a K sound as well as a C sound. So we make the activities so complicated, like that we're not just showing and pointing out words and sounds, but we do some skits, walk around with our letters, become the little people. And then after a week, we have stuff posted on our walls or bulletin boards that the children have generated that have sounds. And this is how we are told to teach alphabetical knowledge and some of the alphabetic knowledge. Sounds associated. You also need to know, and I probably have mentioned this before, but if you missed it, very, very important, that we, with the English language, the only Anglo-Saxon words that truly are considered Anglo-Saxon are words that are compound words. Write that down. And words that have one. I did not make this up. Studies have shown that the etymology of every word comes from a different language. And you know that if you look at an unabridged dictionary, which we very rarely see today, the etymology of words will right next to the particular word. Rapport will have FR, French. Any word that is taken from another language is what we call the etymology of the word, and it is used to be every single dictionary. The past 15, 20 years, we have abridged dictionaries for children and etymology is among included. If you study in California as a teacher, you must know everything you can about etymology. It is part of the assessments that you will go through when you are teacher in the exam. And I believe that because in our area we no longer emphasize etymology, the dictionaries that we publish, Webster's, whatever, that are made specifically for young children have left out the etymology. So look to see if it's Greek, GR, if it's German, G. No, Greek is GK, I think. L is Latin, A is R. So you look to see where that word came from. It's very easy to know words that are French because the end, that rapport, you can say rapport, or the words, is what you know is French. About those words that you mentioned last sounds. Usually they are French, not all of them. But the important thing is as educators, that the only Anglo-Saxon words that we can actually say belong to us, the English, are the compound words and words that everyone. Okay, that's a little background that I'm about to teach for you. So we want to make sure that we understand why teaching English language is so difficult to children who are learning English as a second language. All the rules are so confusing. This is this rule says this, but suddenly I don't add an S, and suddenly I do have to add another letter or just an apostrophe. I don't say sheep, I say sheep. I don't say buffaloes, I say buffalo. I don't say deers, I say deer. Why are these animals not? You don't add an S. Those are what will make it very difficult for children to, unless they hear it, use it, and it belongs to them. Isn't that interesting? We have children still saying buffaloes, or children's, or child's, unless it's an apostrophe S. Those are confusing. So we try to teach grammar embedded in our statements and sentences and teaching. And as we correct children, we do it gently, we do it in a very professional way, and you repeat it the right way, but you don't say, hey, stop saying deers. You just say, oh, you meant the 5 deer that you just passed. No, many here. I saw more than one teacher. You're saying here, I let me do it. Teaching it. It is simply the fact that English language and German, I think, are considered very difficult to teach. But if you immerse a child in a new language where the child listens and hears everyday language, the child will learn the basic language, the everyday um, language. Once you talk about the CALPS, CALPS level of language learning or words or etc., it's the academic language proficiency. And that comes from the textbooks, the teaching in the classrooms. But the bigs is where they learn this not just the street language, that doesn't sound too wrong. The home language where you're talking about food and utensils and playground language, etc. The academic language, like when I studied Spanish, which is my third language, I knew Latin very well. And that's where I branched off into Spanish. I recognize the fact that uh, the speaking of Spanish, which we call the everyday Spanish, was not going to help me if I was going to be um, editing work for my school as a principal or teaching, speaking academically Spanish. So I had to do 7 years of studies. Whereas if I had only limited to 1 or 2, I would have been at the level of, yeah, I can speak Spanish. I can ask you where I am. I'm lost. I can ask for food. I can say, I understand what you're saying, which is an everyday Spanish language. Children, my dear future teachers, go through the same process when they're learning a language. They hear the everyday language at home, but then you come to school and you must make sure that you're exposing them to academic language that apply to mathematics, to science, to social studies. We talk about ravine and valleys and stuff. Those are words that are connected to the academic area. Okay? But if they're not exposed to it, because of the environment where they grew up, where they're growing up, within that environment, words are not used, children will not capture those words. So it's left up to us, curriculum, to develop language, to develop literacy. And I just wanted to go step by step. Okay, so if you will allow me, we have phonological awareness, which I have told you repeatedly. Phono, like phone, it means the sounds. So the moment the postnatal stage of the child begins to hear phonemic awareness. He's becoming familiar with sounds around the pots and pans, the mom cooing, the father cooing, the abuela cooing, people asking someone to feed the baby, talking to the child and cooing. Those are phonological awareness. Once you start singing an exciting poem and calling the child by his name, that's phonological awareness. However, the moment you transfer sounds to associate with the written, the print, then teachers it is now finds. You have some teachers in a system working for years, and you ask them the difference between phonological awareness, they will not be able to discriminate between phonics and phonological awareness. They're married to each other. They come together. Without one or the other, they won't exist. But first, we emphasize phonological awareness to children. So the child who is kept in a secluded area, there's no conversation, no interaction. The child's vocabulary is limited. However, if you are a language-rich home, you don't have to be wealthy. You have parents who explain things to children. You hear them on the playground, the child is asking a question, the parent or the guardian is expounding. I hear in a neighborhood where I could, as a teacher, you never stop being a teacher, and I hear how some parents go to their way to speak correctly to them, explain, ask questions, follow up, interact with each other, whereas I see others watching the experiments of children. And Ma is totally not answering, or Papi, or whatever. We want to know that all children don't come with the same previous knowledge, background, and enrichment of language. Everything relies on us. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So phonological is the spoken, where you can distinguish sounds. We sing, we have poetry, we speak, we do rhymes, we do whatever possible so that the children can hear and it reaches their cognitive domain. So that's phonological awareness. We've covered alphabetic knowledge, phonological awareness. Now I want to go through something else that you will be hearing. Rapid automatic naming of letters or digits. Rapid automatic naming of letters or digits. This, teachers, we refer to as RAN, R-A-N, just like the boy ran after the ball. Rapid automatic naming. Naming not human being names, but naming letters and naming digits, numbers, etc. Does that make sense? Please stop me if you're not following me. And this is the ability to name in sequence random letters and numbers. It does not mean that knowing RAN, exposed to RAN, these children know values, know placement. Yes, you have to teach them. Your first and second grade standards will talk about space, placement, etc. And then when you're in first grade, you teach them unit, tens, hundreds, all those, which will come under your developmentally appropriate practice in your curriculum and standards. However, as you're teaching early childhood education, and you hear them go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is the RAN where they can rapidly name them, but they do not have the concept. Your job is to take them beyond that. We also can apply RAN to colors, objects. They can name objects. They know what a ball looks like. Maybe they don't know what a funnel looks like, or to call it a funnel because they're not exposed to it at home, or a garden tool, or a utensil, or whatever. But they will learn it through environmental experiences, correct? Just like they know what's on a menu, because very few children will tell you they've never been to a restaurant if they live in an inner city or they travel. So we have that. The rapid automatic naming of objects or colors, they will be able to look at the ability to name a sequence of sets of pictures of objects. We usually use pictures and objects to teach special education children or autistic children to have them see the immediate correspondence, the picture with the symbol, etc., which is extremely okay. So I just want to explain to you that it's a very important that we do understand that they will look at pictures of objects and they will name them. Usually that's how we correspond or interact with special needs children as well. Now the house, the tree, the man, the dog, the animals with four legs, the colors, etc. They can associate if we expose them to it. We have writing or writing name. The ability to write letters. This is called writing or writing name. The ability to write letters in isolation, as you ask them to write the letters to their names. So they call this the writing or writing name. They have learned that Tuni, my nickname is T-U-N-I. So if my teacher Hannah asks me to write my name, I will already have experienced that line, vertical and horizontal line, can make a T. So I, in my little child's mind, will create that T for my teacher. Maybe it will be wobbly or whatever. U is a little bit curvy for them, and not all children have the curve ability yet of the fine motor skill. The N and the I, those letters have already been introduced to the child, and now you're asking them to learn, to write their name, their letters to their names. We take it for granted. We think this Nancy can write Nancy and it's automatic. In Nancy, we have the Y at the end. Y is a consonant, but at the end, it sounds like I, so it becomes a vowel sound. We have to introduce all this in sequence to our students. So this chapter is extremely important because we change, like all chapters tell us important and kind of non-important things, but this brings up our thoughts and thinking as a child thinks when he or she is learning a language or letters or writing or developing vocabulary so he can read. So it's the ability to remember the letters that you taught them, to put them together. Hannah would have the H, which are 2 vertical lines and 1 horizontal line, right? That small a in Hannah's name may create a problem. And I'm looking at Hannah's name in front of me. So this I'm picking on Hannah right now. You have the 2 N's. Look at how that small N is formed on Hannah's name. That can create problems because the child's fine motor skill can probably do the straight line down, but then that curve and bring it down suddenly creates a problem. That's why we wait for their motor skills to be at the level they should be. Usually by kinder or first grade, they can handle it, but the space that Hannah's name is written in right now is small. That space needs to be larger for the primary child. The primary child who will not be able to control that within that small space, but this big space, because the fine motor skill is not quite developed, she'll be able to do that. If you look at the small a in Hannah's name again, once she learns the first A and the first N, she won't have a problem writing her name because the other letters are repeated. The H was easy. It almost looks like a chair. 2 straight lines and a line across. So that's how you introduce the writing of letters. And that's why I say, let them learn the name of the letters, the sounds that the letters make, the writing of the letters before you push them too far and think that they have captured all the meaning of that letter that we so think they know once they say that's an H. And her last name is Rust, so you know that the capital R, and then the U is there, the S is not too bad, it looks like a snake, and then of course the T. So we are looking at how a child thinks when I bring this up to you. The phonological memory is called PM. PM phonological memory is the ability to remember the spoken information for a short period of time. But we don't want PM to just do that. We want the memory to be applied, what we remember, and go into our cognitive domain so we can know exactly when to use it and when it will be needed to use. The great example is your 2 times table. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And those are the things that we want to not make it a short-term memory, but a memory that will be used once it's in the cognition, once it belongs to the child. I hope I'm making sense because I am not moving screen yet. I'm not looking at the slides yet. Just bear with me, okay? So what we want to do is we want to make sure that the children who are phonologically aware of what's going on, word-to-word matching, they are sound isolation. Those are the phonological We know what the alphabet is. I already explained that, the name of the letters. But now we talk about the phonological awareness, those sounds that those letters bring with them. And for example, look at the word bag. When you hear teachers teaching bag, they go B-A-G. We want to make the sounds for them. And don't go boo because you're doing adding another sound to it. Form your letters as you see my mouth is forming. Bag. Now, if I say Jeep, G, look at the way my mouth goes, and the child is going to confuse that with a G. Now, the child must learn that that word Jeep is spelled with a J, and that's what makes our children confused. And unless they're exposed to this, it becomes very difficult for them, not just to spell, but to write the word. So we have, which is, then we play games, and we do, which one is the odd word out? Which word is odd, does not belong? So then I'd say big, bag, 9, beach, bike. What did you hear differently in one of those words? I will repeat it. Bag, 9, beach, bike. Could someone tell me? Anyone? So I know you're listening to me. Students?
I'm sorry, there was a little background noise. Can you repeat that again?
Bag, 9, beach, bike. What would you say is an odd sound in these words?
No.
Which one does not belong?
The second one.
Okay, I'm gonna call on people. Which word does not belong? Person, which word does not belong?
No, I didn't hear the first word. Did you say bag or bag?
Bag, 9, beach, bike. Which word does not belong?
9.
The number 9.
9. The onset of the word is B. B is the onset. The rhyme, which we use in language arts, is R-I-M-E, not R-H-Y-M-E. So B is the onset, I is the rhyme. However, if I ask the child which one has a different onset, I'm already using academic language.
Onset with it.
So the child knows that the onset that I'm teaching is the beginning, the beginning sound of a word. And so these are some exercises that you're expected to do in the classroom. We have the vocabulary knowledge, where we can have games such as guess what's in the bag, and they pull out pictures and words and they name them. You have the best practice one. Make sure that your parents know what you're covering with your students. Make sure the second best practice is that you have high expectations in your children learning vocabulary words. That's your second focus. And I realize I may be too soft, so I'm going to raise the volume a little bit. We have incorporate collaborative learning, where you are having them collaborate with each other. That's your other third best practice. And I'm going to ask you about these in a few minutes. The first was involve parents in knowing what you're teaching. The second best practice is have high expectations. The third one is incorporate collaborative learning, where children learn from each other. The fourth is assess students often. You can do informal assessment or formal assessment, where you stop and ask questions. You got those? I'm going to keep going. Best practice for you teaching language to children is have visuals for them and movements. Have them move and do and show them what you're talking about. Visuals and movements. And the six best practice teachers are your word walls. You put up the words that your students have learned. Now, how often do you revisit the word wall? I think I addressed this. After 2 weeks or 3 weeks, which I have reviewed every day, and I see the students have learned those words, then I put them in an envelope and have them center for them. Word walls don't remain with the same words all of the time. So when I walk into your classroom, I want to see the word walls that they are currently using in their chapter reading, or in their science, or in their social studies, or in their academics. So I hope you understand. I will repeat very quickly so as not to bore. Best practice one: involve parents in what you're teaching your students on a weekly basis. Set high expectations for all students. Incorporate collaborative learning where children talk to each other, turn and talk, we call it. Assess students often, different ways of assessment. Use visuals and movement. And the last one is build word walls. Any questions? Anyone wants me to repeat something? Okay. All right, I'm going to move into your slides now. So any questions, stop me because I'm going to go through it very, very quickly. In our chapter 13, we are still working with language development. So the use of sounds, which is married to your chapter 10, to your chapter 10 of your book, is the ways and the meaningful ways that children express themselves. It's expressive and it's receptive. This actually characterizes people, their languages, their culture. Some of them will say words in, of course, segmented. However, they will put an English word and embed one of their native or home language words when they're just learning a new language. The second one, we have learning through language experiences. We must attach experiences when we're learning languages. How do we do that? Itsy bitsy spider walked up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. Itsy bitsy spider walked up the spout again. The child is acting it out. He's learning the water washed the spider out. So we have the spider there. And what else? Climb the water spout. That's a good word for them. What is a water spout? Not all of them are exposed to that. So through songs, through actions, through performance, they're learning their vocabulary. And babies do not start life with language, but they hear language, like we said at the beginning. And of course, they communicate by making sounds eventually, pointing, and actually making us see or pretend we think we know what they're trying to tell us. And sometimes we have difficulty, but we don't know what they're trying to tell us. Language of children is different from adults, definitely. I don't want to read this to you, so I'm going to go through it. Sometimes language deals with egocentrism, which is very common at 2 years old. Sometimes they have no form. They babble and you think and you say, and you don't even know what they're saying because they're not articulating clearly yet, but they are communicating. And it's not just learned by imitating adults. They learn from you reading to them, from them listening to music, from them hearing sounds around them. Unfortunately, today, which we overuse would be the media and play, of course. But experiences also that will help build your language. So during the first 5 years are reflected in literally success. Later on, they are going to be experiencing this. The forest, how the syrup is made, how the pancakes are made, how they're following expository stuff, how to bake this and how to they're experiencing language because they're embedding the experience into an activity. Not just the building blocks, but we're talking about how to make the marshmallow and how with the Rice Krispies to make something very delicious. Um, so one of the things that we are looking at is bring experiences in to build language. Let us set the table where the knife, the utensils go. The knife next to the on the right side, the fork will go where the left side have one. So we're talking about plates, utensils, setting the table. Pots and pans have names. Different clothing have names. What we use for the kitchen to wash dishes was everything is an experience building vocabulary for children. Okay, exposure to varied vocabulary. We really cheat our children when are buried our head in a telephone while we're walking with them, while we're not checking. And I see it frustrates me tremendously when I see buggies being pushed by parents and their heads buried in the phone instead of talking with that child. So home and classroom environments must click with each other to enhance vocabulary, but do not rely only on home experience. As educators, you will find teachers doing the same thing, ignoring the fact that seize the moment. This is a time I am chatting and walking my baby, taking my child for a walk, my sister, my brother, converse with them, use intentional vocabulary with them. They can learn big words, just exposed to it. Sounds, rhythms, intonations. If I sat here and just use the same monotone, you would go crazy. You do that. I do that to children. We coo, we babble for them to learn, but we change our intonation to make it sound. And they don't know the sounds we are saying, the words we're saying. It's how we say it. The cooing. If I go coo to the baby's not gonna kick his legs up. But if I go coo, coo, and I say it in a very pleasant tone, the child picks that up and is responding to me. So everything also is tied with intonation. Sentence first begin with telegraphic speech. Me water, me go me, give, me want, you know. Then it is elaborated as the child gets a little older and hears the way it is said. Instructions need to use techniques that work in the classroom, giving them a chance to socially interact, give them sufficient time to become proficient in the second language if English is not their first language. If English is not if English is not their first language, give them time to develop the language. And of course, they will transfer skills from one language to the other because the brain has learned already a language. They're not coming to you deficient. Children who have learned the first language because it's their home language in no way have a deficit. They have an asset that many people who only speak one language do not have. The brain has formed itself to obtain a language already. The child comes with that function all there. We tend to believe that, oh my gosh, when am I going to teach this child? No, the more the child is exposed and has learned a language prior to coming to you, you have a child with lots of assets there. And the automaticity will translate into the new language learning that we talk about. Okay? They will transfer their skills automatically. The brain does that. This is where we come up with dual language learning practice. Definition is the ability to speak two languages with a degree of fluency. And a second language learning occurs in two ways, simultaneous and consecutive acquisition. It's just automatic, simultaneously happens, or it comes in step by step. It depends on how we teach dual language to our children. The best way to teach dual language is ensure that once you're teaching a second language, do not revert to the known language that the child is comfortable with. So you will speak in Latin if you're teaching Latin at this time. Don't go back and explain it in English. The child is immersed in that new language. If you keep flipping back and forth, that's how we learn how to teach to a language. You're not doing a foot, you're doing a discredit to the child. So immersion is there in the new language and you stick with it. You pray to pray at a Catholic school and you pray you'll be in the new language you learn. If you talk about the sensitive, you will give instructions in the new language. And so the child is immersed in that new language as they're learning and learning dual language. So if you're a Spanish speaking child, you're going to be immersed in the English language. If you're an English speaking only and you're in dual language program, you're going to be immersed into that new language, be it Spanish, Greek, Latin, whatever language, Arabic. That's what dual language is about. It's not only bilingual education, it's under the bilingual education umbrella. You to remember that. Okay. We have the engage children in print, have a rich print environment, read, learn to read is more than just decoding symbols, putting symbols together to form words, words to form sentences. Experiences and knowledge must attach one to the other. With experience, the children can make associations and meaning and language. Have all types of books and stories, all different genres for them to go and pick what they like, for them to have what we call recreational reading. They know my teacher's not going to test me what I'm reading, but I'm looking at this book. I am trying to decipher words without being put under the strain that if I have to read it out loud and I don't know it. So we want to allow them time to read, which we call free time for reading, and you should be reading what you choose so that you will model for them. We used to have 15 minutes of this every day in our school. We called it sustained, quiet, uninterrupted reading time. Script. There were other acronyms, but we stuck with the script. And everyone in my school, when that little bell chimed, everyone was reading what he or she chose from the library, what they brought home, or what I had in my hand. Then principal, no sounds anywhere, and my engineer got in on this. The cafeteria staff got in on this. So we have gone with sustained, quiet, uninterrupted time, which is sport. That's the act. So, but you do it so as to show children that reading can be a time for pleasure, a time for less intimidation, and that encourages children to handle books that they want to read. If they're only told to read something so they have a test or they're going to be questioned, then you want to have a balance on also, okay? But then you're not encouraging literacy. So often when you call yourselves walk into the library and just grab a book that you just want to forget your textbooks, forget master's homework, forget your teacher's homework, and just dive into that awesome, whether it's a love story, a novel, or a biography, and no one is there to test you on that. You just are reading because you want to enjoy a book, and that's what we want to get the children used to when we do that. As we talk about literacy teachers, we talk about listening, speaking, reading, and writing. This one has finally put it in the order that I want. There are some textbooks that bring speaking and listening, and that's not the order. We want them to listen, to learn to speak, transitions to read, and to write. These four are called the Illinois, what is it called? Not the learning standards. It'll come back to me. Way back, we had to make sure that all these four were embedded in your language arts lesson. The reading initiatives, the state of Illinois reading initiatives. This is what consisted of, and I'm glad to see that it's now visited. You must be making them aware to want to explore. The early reading and writing will be all Scrabble, all things you cannot decipher, but they are in their little minds writing for you. One of the things that we have totally been told not to do to discourage this is to not ask children, what is that? What did no? We want to tell the child that it's just scribbled for you. Could you share that? I'd love for you to explain. But if you approach the child, what is that? It kind of knocks out the child is no longer interested, he's embarrassed, you have put him on the spot. So lately we've been hearing that specialists are telling us don't approach them in that manner. Acknowledge that they have something substantial and that they will be the ones to enlighten you. Okay? So we want children to learn the print. It's all around them. You observe children as they recognize words. Words every day. The sight words must be taught. The 220 they should know by the time we're done first grade. Those are called high frequency words, the Dolch words, or sight words. They're all falling into that category. I have told my students over and over, if I miss telling you, is that every book, 75% of paragraphs in a book, whether it's a medical book or a theory book, 75% of the words will be sight words. The others will be words that children can attack with attack skills. So if we deprive our children of learning all the sight words, and all you have to do is Google it, those list of sight words for kindergarten, for first grade, second, third, fourth, you'll find that you're giving them the opportunity to enjoy reading. Right now, you see the slide I have there? Let's turn that into a sight word appreciation. I hope you're with me, teachers. I cannot see you, but if you try this in any textbook that you have, count how many sight words you will come up with in one paragraph. Let's see if I can do it with this, because these are all statements. Sight words are words that children cannot sound out. So you count with Miss Master. Children you can sound out. Help can, learn can, that can, print you could, is you can, a you can, form you can, of you can, language you can sound out, language. The next one, count how many sight words I have just on this slide here. Be can sound out, sure can sound out, that's a sight word. Children is not. Here is a sight word. Stories is not a sight word. Poems is not a sight word. Chances, chance, and is, songs, sight words, many, sight words, and we keep going and going. And in one paragraph, try an experiment with Miss Master, for Miss Master if you have a chance. Find a paragraph in any textbook. 75% of words in one paragraph consists of words that are sight words that we cannot sound out, and the others are words we can sound out, which is called word attack skills. By the time children are done with second grade, they should be moving now into third grade, and they're now no longer reading the mechanics of reading, but they're already learned to learn how to read, and now they're going to begin to read for understanding. It used to be in fourth grade, but with Common Core, we were told in third grade. Now they have mastered all their sight words. They have learned word attack skills. Red, frogs, knives. They were able to sound it out. Words cannot be sounded out. Own cannot be. With can't. I can, two cans. So you can count them, and you will see that I'm correct with this. We have had so many of these activities when I was doing a reading specialist class. Let's see what happened here. Let me go back. Sorry. I hope I can bring you back to my PowerPoint. I apologize, students. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, you can see your screen,
Yes.
all of the PowerPoint.
got it. Okay. I apologize. I don't want to start finding out if I have to. Okay. Growing up to read is children are going to be given the attitude towards reading, adapting that according to the adults, how much they're exposed to it, how much they're told, yes, you can read. If a child is exposed to reading, has learned to read, he will want to grow up reading books even when he's not told he has to do that. Identify words, they will be able to sound them out, like I said, but vocabulary words that are unfamiliar, you will ensure that you introduce these words when you're before you start teaching a lesson. We talked about print-rich environment, exposing them to language experience approach. This is LEA. I told you, I don't know if you remember. This originated in Australia, where they would have big charts and teachers would say to them, okay, we went to the zoo yesterday or to the museum. One of you tell me what you saw. And you do this with a small group of children, not a large group, and you have them in a semicircle with the chart. Child says, oh, I saw an elephant. I saw a elephant, not an elephant. So you put on the board, I saw a elephant, even though you know it's supposed to be an elephant. You're writing the exact words that the child has said. You read it back and you tell the child, let's all read it together what Sammy has just said. So what you're doing with a language experience approach, it used to come into your area exam, LEA, is that the child recognizes that what came out of his mouth was put on print, and what is in print can be read back. That's the rationale behind the language experience approach. I hope it is. And I would like to see that done in the, not for new language children, but for everyone, so that children make that connection. We have to have our curriculum that's child-centered. Their interests, the centers are child-proof for them. They're encouraged to share with each other, and everything that is written can be read. Anything that is said, I wish it had said that. Everything that is said can be written. Everything that is written can be read back. That's the idea of LEA. And here we have broadens interests and concepts, where children's lit will broaden they will visit worlds all over the world, all scenarios, all genre, every place that they can visit. Once you get them to enjoy literature, they will pick up information for fiction, non-fiction books. We're having fun with this in our 325 class. We draw on everybody's experience. We use open-ended questions to catch them thinking, and we choose books that are inviting for them to participate. I want to remind you that you can read a book that's 2 grade level above them if you're reading to them. Once you engage them to read with you, make sure it's at least at the instructional level. Your children that are going to be frustrated would be the ones that have not learned to read at the instructional level of 2nd grade or 3rd grade, but as they participate and sit with their peers and read along, they will catch up. If in addition to your small group teaching to them, Lev Vygotsky's close zone of close proximal development. Make sure there is quiet space for them to read, that they are actually reading, not wasting time on the carpet or in the reading chairs that you give them, and make sure that they see books all around them. Tell stories. We talk about cultural stories and rich eventful meaning and experiences. Children love to hear stories and we tell stories. They can reenact them and of course playwriting them, and they act them out. We call those skits. Puppetry is very big. I think Northeastern offers still a course of puppetry. I'm not sure. Your teacher used to teach it, may have retired, but it is part of early childhood education. We play games, we have story cards, etc. And of course, everything they hear, and video books can enhance reading. I love to see when teachers record their voices telling a story to children or to your own child at home. And here we talk about articulation, how you pronounce, how you announce your words, and you say them. Children will eventually repeat them. Receptive language is when they're listening. Okay, expressive is when you start using the words that they have learned. Receptive, expressive. Second language learners, teachers don't always express themselves right away. They each engage at their own time, but they are receiving language. They must enjoy language because you make them by activities that you give them, and you become interactive with them, learning words. You call them an envelope of language. Children must use language to learn it. Very good. When I've learned my languages, I'm a crazy lady with languages. English is my first language, but I learned three others. And unfortunately, my parents' language, Arabic, because they moved from Lebanon when they just got married. We weren't born there. But we didn't learn the Arabic in writing the way I would have wanted to, because they were pushing for languages that they knew we were born in the English system, but they always said Latin. If you know Latin, you will learn all languages from that. And of course, Latin became a dead language in the church, so we learned Spanish from it. But as I enjoyed learning languages, I recognize today the process that a child goes through when he or she is learning either a new language or English as a second language. Okay, Spanish is very phonetic, and a lot of the conjugation of verbs in Latin helped me acquire Spanish very quickly. You have languages like German that can be very challenging. I don't know if I could learn it. If I paid attention, I would. But it's enjoyable. But just think how children think and how children acquire language. Exposition to the language is important. Okay. So we go with this and we talk about effective approaches that we want to emphasize here. Home languages are to be revered in school. We don't want to undermine those. That's really, really very, very inappropriate to do that. We have children with some speech and language disorders, and the speech pathologist will be taking care of that for the child. But also we look at the developmental stage of the child. Teachers should always be aware of their own use of language on purpose. Use words that you can have them learn. They have signs, pictures, they're using art, they're using signs outdoor, indoor. They can point to McDonald's and read it. They can point to a Target. And so we want to call this environmental vocabulary. Cooking, oh my gosh, what better ways to teach them vocabulary, recipe cards. Science, discovery, labeling, displays, graphs, all those create language. Not create, develop language for children. Gender plays, stories, culture, foods, utensils, beautiful. As they label, they read, they write, and they listen. I like to use everyday experience to teach language. How do you write the word skirt? That's hard. That's a sight word, skirt. It's not SKURT, it's SKIRT. But let's show the skirt. Let's draw some skirts and let's attach the word to it. Tell me what child is going to forget how to write skirt. Blazer, all that. Use everyday experiences and what they know to help develop words, not to know how to spell them only, but to recognize them. Shawl, gloves, put them there and label them, let them label. It is amazing how they pick up vocabulary. Focus on skills necessary for development of children's language. Use thematic units, and I'm almost done. I want to thank you for bearing with me as I explain this to you. Plan to use of the two languages which they're learning in dual language, and then they have to become immersed in it. Like I said at the beginning, this is like a review. Make sure that keep adding words, keep reviewing with them, have them express themselves in the new language in a meaningful way. Whether it's about food, whether it's clothing, whether it's about academic words, doesn't matter. Find out about the families, what they enjoy, what they do, what language they speak. And of course, you create a positive climate experience with your children. As we develop language, we model what is good language, I want to say acceptable language, but here they say good. Be a model for language that will help them acquire new words, and then they can add that to their vocabulary. And it says cognitive and language development involve listening, speaking, reading, and writing. I hope that that concludes our chapter, which I thought marries very closely into your chapter 10. Is there any questions from Ms. Muster? PowerPoint was number 13. I'm just making a note of what I did today. Okay, any questions from Ms. Muster? Okay, let me see who's here and who's not here. Today's Holy Thursday. I know that people ask me if they can have time to go to their churches, but I couldn't on my own give you a day off. So I really want you to know Tuesday I'm going to cover a lot, because Thursday I will meet briefly with you and send you off to do your work, because I still have some stuff to cover. And I will note that also. So that I don't forget. Okay. So I have Alondra, are you with us today?
I'm
Alondra?
here, Professor.
Thank you. Yeah, Latoya, are you with us? No. Diana Garcia?
Yeah, I am.
Thank you. Yesenia Leon, are you with me? No. Jerson, I know you are. Victoria, yes, I see you. Sarah, you're with us, huh? Yes, I see your name. Hannah, yes. Shen Mandy Ning, no.
I'm here.
Thank you. Ariel, yes.
I'm here.
And Evie, you're with us. I want to thank all of you for being with me. I didn't hear a response from Yesenia nor Latoya. Did I miss hearing that you're here? Okay. Students, I will ask you to have a very pleasant rest of the week. If you don't celebrate Easter, take advantage and make sure that you are resting, catching up. Because Tuesday, like I said, I'm going to go over some more chapters with you, so I am caught up. And then Thursday will be a very brief lesson where I will give you time to go and do some work for me during the class time. And I want to thank you again for those who were listening to me, who were patient with me explaining whatever I was explaining. I know it's difficult to sit and listen to your teachers sometimes when I cannot actually be face to face with you, but you're adults. And I know that you are making an effort, even if you get distracted sometimes. Thank you for sharing your afternoon with Ms. Muster. And I'm here for you. God bless you all. Happy holidays if you do celebrate Easter.
Happy Easter, Professor.
Okay.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You also. You all should.
Yeah.